Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're delighted to have your company here on STV. The main talking points tonight: the Scottish Cup takes centre stage this weekend. And of course, Hearts boss Robbie Neilson says he's quite keen on signing a new contract with the Tynecastle club. Maybe a win over the great rivals Hibs will accelerate the process. Ronnie Deila yesterday saying he wouldn't quit. Today the headlines are he might quit if he loses the title to Aberdeen. We'll talk about the matches in Scotland across all the divisions. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and to help us through the programme, our boot-room guest, I'm delighted to say, is St Mirren boss Alex Rae. Let's first of all cut to the chase. You've been in a few weeks now.
Yep.
How are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm loving it. It's all-consuming. I think January's one of the toughest months. You know, you're trying to get some players out and then identifying guys that can actually make it that little bit better.
And with the players that you brought in, I mean, Quinn, Irvin, Clarkson, all guys that have been over the course.
Yep. Well, I think it was important for us to try and bring in that little bit of experience. We're obviously at the wrong end of the table and we just wanted to get guys that's over the course and distance. We also brought Alex Cooper in as well on the left-hand side. So I've got 4 new options. And one of the things as well, you know, it'll maybe give us more selection issues, you know, from the bench as well, just whatever kind of permutation we do.
I noticed in the game a couple of weeks back, you still want to play football. You know, you want to get it on the deck. If anything, that cup game against Partick Thistle, it was just that final third, that cutting edge.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you thought was missing after viewing it in a couple of weeks?
I think in terms of the Partick Thistle game, Peter, we had come off the back of a 4-1 defeat to Livingston. It was quite alarming. And I wanted to just make sure that game was relatively compact and difficult to beat. And you were obviously at the game. I think in open play they'd one shot from Amu coming in off the left-hand side. In general play we kind of stifled them and things, but you want, as you rightly say, you want to be more expressive and things, but we won't come up against teams at that stage. I think Thistle were on a 11-game undefeated run, so they were kind of the form team. But domestically against we're kind of rivals, if you like, we've been a lot more outgoing and you know, we scored 3 last weekend.
I was just going to say, Alex, it's amazing how things change in football. When you went there, the pressure was on to get away from the bottom.
Yep.
Now there's a new pressure with the wins that you've had to be in the top 4. I mean, it's amazing.
I think that's the first person to mention that, so thanks for...
No, 7 points.
No, listen,
7 points.
yeah,
When you're looking at it, I'm sure the supporters, the St Mirren supporters will be saying, here, there's a pressure, let's get in there.
Well, we've managed to get 3 out of the first 5, but we're still not got away from that relegation zone. You know, we're still third from bottom, and we have to take each game in its merit, and Queen of the South are still vying for that 4th spot as well, so we really just need to take care of that. I think the important thing from last week's result was the 8 months without a win at home. You know, it's actually astonishing. I think if you're trying to achieve anything in football, you really need to have a decent home record, and hopefully that's the start of things to come.
Yeah. Well, what's the difficulty for you then as a manager? You know, you had a good team up at Dundee. Now you're in a different situation where you're first of all trying to build confidence, and then secondly trying to ask players to play a certain way and hope they can execute your ideas.
I think one of the things you would ideally like to do, Peter, is get a summer under your belt, and then you would implement all your ideas the way you want them to be, in and out of possession. And we're kind of trying to do that as we're going along, which is not ideal. But they're starting to put it into place. We do a debrief on a Tuesday, the pros and cons, what we did well and what we didn't do so well. And then we look at the opposition going forward into the weekend's game, and we modify our training for where we see their weaknesses and where we can need to sharpen up. So we're gaining more of this information all the time. It's just reinforcing, and as I said to you, the results have been okay, particularly in the league.
Yeah, and despite the fact that obviously the board have said that if somebody came in, they'd sell to them. Tony Fitzpatrick's come in, and I think it's a good PR exercise, and of course Tony will provide a service as well. Yeah,
absolutely. He has a really good knowledge of the club. I think he's managed the team twice now. He's back there. I spoke to him last night. We were at a supporters question and answer, and he's just really excited to be back in amongst it. He's hoping to try and get some of the fans who have gone away over the last couple of years when things have not been going so well. So it's trying to re-engage with them. And also he'd be a great foil for myself, because I know Tony relatively well. I've seen him about football over the last 20 years or so. So there's a good little combination, good balance, and plus he's obviously a St Mirren man, so I think it's a win-win really.
Yeah, and just another final point on the game tomorrow. Is it a case of you guys have to punch above your weight in this one because there's an imbalance against the opposition, which is Queen of the South?
No, I think we can give anyone a game on our day. Obviously, when you're talking about the top three, slightly have an edge, but I feel as if against every other team, we'll cope. We can cope with them and well equipped to do that. And as I said to you, it's just because you know me relatively well now. Because of my nature, you're hoping to try and compete in most games.
Yeah, are you staying calm?
Pretty much, yeah. I've been relatively calm. There was a decision that went against me last week with the referee, which kind of got my blood boiling. But I was relatively respectful, and you know. But sometimes you just got to move on. And again, the positive side of that is the boys responded brilliantly to get back in and get a good result.
Yeah. Let's concentrate on other issues in the weekend game. Scottish Cup takes centre stage. Of course, everybody's talking about the Edinburgh Derby, Ruffy. Robbie Nielsen, Anne Budge has already said she'd like to sit down and talk contracts with him, extensions. He's keen to do it. Nothing better off the back of a derby win if they can get it.
Yeah, and I have to say that where Robbie's taking them is massive, you know, and I'm sure everybody behind the scenes would want him to stay for another 2 or 3 years. Obviously, everybody has ambitions to go to a big club, but I think everything, all the work that he's put in there, it'd be a bit of shame for him to leave it, you know, and it's still got a lot to do, but I think if they got into Europe this year, it'd be fantastic for them.
Okay, Alec, I'll be honest with you. Ruffy and myself were out with a Jambo and a Hibby in a restaurant last night in Edinburgh. And quite simply, the chat I sensed from the Jambo was confidence, because they feel as if they're at home. They've got that physicality about them as well as good footballers. They feel confident about getting the job done against Hibs.
Yeah, I think because of the home form, it will make it a bit more difficult for Hibs to get that result. However, we played Hibs a few weeks ago. I went to see them play against Morton through the week, seen them Rangers a few weeks ago, so I've seen a good bit of Hibs recently, and they have some really good football players. They particularly that middle four diamond in what they play, and they've actually got a combination, maybe 2 or 4 or 5 good strikers as well. You know, Stokes has come in, I think he's got 2 and 2, and you know, you've got Dagnall, Cummins, so they've got a right good options up there. He's got a right good squad of players. He actually rested a few, like Gray and all that was out the team on Monday night, so I'm sure they will come back into contention. I think it'll be close on what, you know, your Hearts friend is suggesting.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't. Am I right in thinking? And a lot of Jambo mates of mine I've got that bit of confidence, and then you know, I think some of the Hibs guys that I've been talking to, also friends of mine, just in case you think I've only got one set of friends, they have the feeling of maybe a draw and back to Easter Road.
Yeah, well, I think if you asked Alan Stubbs, he'd be happy. He'd want to win, obviously, but I think if he was to take another choice, it would be a draw and to go back to Easter Road. But I think in light of Hearts Hibs games, I think both sets don't want to be the end in the hammer. You know, sometimes when one or the other are playing really well, it could be 3-0, 4-0, and I think that's what they all fear, because they've all got to walk about the capital till the next time that they play. So I think it'll be competitive, and I said this yesterday, I hope everything goes all right for 90 minutes. I hope we're talking about football, because sometimes these games can get a wee bit out of hand.
Yeah, I think the only thing, there's a strange thing happening in Edinburgh now. They only want score lines where they can actually do it on their fingers, you know, for various photographs. It could be volatile over the course of it. Is there a match winner there for you? Mentioned Stokes. Is there someone on the Hearts side that you think has got that potential as well?
Is Wanma been back playing him?
Yeah, I mean, Wanma's back playing them, but yes, there's a wee bit of kidology going on at the moment with obviously the sole possible transfer to China. You know, whether won't he come in and play?
Is that not completed yet?
Not yet.
No, Osman Sow, to just give you a little bit of background, Osman Sow, he came and played in a bounce game when I was at Blackpool, and we put him up against our first team, who were actually doing very well at the time. They scored 2 goals, and I remember saying to Incy, we really maybe have to get this boy tied down, and then we get sacked the following week. So, so I thought I'll just leave that alone. But I actually rate him. I think if it was me, I would play him, because he's obviously playing well. But you also have the issue, if he gets an injury, then you might not get that money. Yeah. So there's obviously that dilemma. But I think in terms of going forward, I think they want to get through this. Robbie will be desperate to beat his biggest rivals. Yeah, if I was Anne Budge, I'd say, look, here's your seat, Osman. You're sitting next to me in these comfy seats. Are you okay? Don't pull a hamstring.
you're fine. Just watch the game.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, £1.6 million, and it'd be a big gamble because we've saw in the game some people can pick up injuries and be out for 5 or 6 months. I think it'll be a massive gamble if they play them.
Yeah, you think Hibs in a draw, don't you?
Yeah, I'm going for a draw.
Hibs
Yeah,
back to Easter Road.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a draw as well. I actually think Hibs are in such good form. Out with the game at Ibrox recently, they've been probably one of the form teams in Scotland.
Okay, there you are. Wow, it must be difficult for those two sitting on those chairs with the skelfs on their backsides. No real prediction one way or the other, staying safe. But I reckon in the second half of this programme, Alex Rae is going to come into his own. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. I don't know if you caught it there, just as we came back, Alec was fixing his hair. Now that takes some doing, by the way, on this programme, honestly. I mean, that was absolutely priceless there, Ruffy, eh? I mean, you, I can accept it, but the wee man, I'm just not buying into that, are you?
Brilliant.
That's absolutely, I never miss a trick, Alec, I just thought
I couldn't do it.
Okay, let's crack on. That's for the Christmas tape. Let's look at, well, they've been in the news all week. We've had countless former players hammering Celtic. We've called it straight on this programme as well, Ruffy. Chris Sutton basically lays the blame at Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell for the situation of backing, a mistake in his mind. Frank McAvennie, our very own Frank McAvennie, has said he doesn't think he'll be sacked. The manager himself said he wasn't going to quit, but then maybe just kind of twisted it a little on the interview with the written press by saying, well, if I lose the title to Aberdeen, I'll probably be sacked or quit.
Yeah, he will be sacked if he doesn't win the league. I think the Celtic supporters are now showing their displeasure of what's happening at the club. You just have to look at the attendances. We were at the semi-final last week, 21,000, which is shocking. So yeah, he's got a lot to answer for. I mean, but the only thing that's going to save him is winning cups and winning leagues, But will it give him the time, to bring the supporters back on board again? I mean, Rangers and Celtic supporters are notorious at getting behind their club when things aren't going well, and I'm sure the Celtic supporters will as well. But he's put himself under so much pressure now with every big game that he goes into that he needs to win them.
Yeah, I'm not for a minute suggesting any kind of comment from on a manager's predicament because you're the manager of St Mirren, Alec, but as far as the pressure, you know what it's like at Rangers and Celtic. I mean, Mark Warburton thinks there's pressure now in the Championship. Wait till he gets to the Premiership. Even a draw is looked upon as a catastrophe. So there is a point in a manager's career, I think, when you suddenly sense that you want the results to happen. You want, as Ronnie Dyler says, he wants to be loved by the fans. But there's a point right now where this is probably his most difficult period.
One of the things I realise about being an Old Firm, because I think when you're out with it, it's very difficult to get an understanding of the pressures. And this is nothing new about ex-players having a go at managers, because even in my day, there was guys had columns and pundits and things, and if you get a draw in the days, I used to think, well, we haven't been beaten. But the actual backlash from that was just part and parcel of being an Old Firm manager. And you're right in what you say about Matt Warburton. It's kind of been a free rein because they've pretty much, been unscathed as such. They've obviously disappointed St Johnstone early in the season, but that's understandable because of the levels, and any given day a result can happen. I actually think Ronnie Deila will be given to the summer. I think he's already been given assurances that if you win the league, because he's always been his kind of mantra, he's come out and said he feels as if as long as I win the title. The question mark for Ronnie will be whether they give him another shot at the Champions League because of the magnitude for the finances as well, because it's for Celtic to get into that, it's obviously a big issue in terms of their business plan as well, with the monies. They don't want to be losing money. So, but that will all be decided over the course of the next 3 or 4 months to the final day of the season. And I think Celtic are relatively measured. I don't think they're ever going to a knee-jerk reaction. So I think he'll be given the time, and probably rightly so. I was talking to someone the other day about, we have this culture, we constantly kind of flip managers all the time, and no one's ever given a chance to build anything. So as an example, my friend's a Dundee United fan. 2 years, Jackie McNamara's done really, really well. is a 4 to 6 month period. It's not so great, and then they change it, and it hasn't been a great upturn so far. But if you continue to do this change and it doesn't give you any continuity, then building, I think that's one of the things we need to try and get back to.
Yeah. I think another thing as well, the importance of getting into the Champions League now, because I don't know about you, but I think the crown jewels have all been sold that were compensating not getting in. You know, you look at the Celtic team now, there isn't a £10 million player there. If they don't get in, well, we'll just sell somebody, and that's going to be a big dilemma when it comes to it.
Yeah, and the pressure again intensifies, Ruffy, because St Johnstone play Aberdeen in the league tomorrow, and that's a chance again to crank it up.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think again, you know, St Johnstone obviously getting beat last week will be on a wee bit of a downer. Players might raise their game, but I think if you're in the Aberdeen dressing room after that win in midweek, you're buzzing during that game, and I can't see them losing it.
Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the fixtures for the Scottish Cup, first and foremost, because there are a number of mouth-watering ties there. We've already discussed Hearts against Hibs. East Kilbride, the players will be buzzing. The excitement will be building ahead of that game at Airdrie Stadium against Celtic on the Sunday. Rangers against Kilmarnock. Alex Rae, what kind of reaction do you think Lee McCulloch's going to get? He certainly, his heart will be beating a little faster as caretaker boss.
Oh, absolutely. It's ironic that you finds himself in charge for this one, and I think it's a hiding to nothing for Lee. I think he should go there. I think he'll get a terrific reception for Rangers fans. Over this period at Rangers was a fruitful one, so I think he'll get a great response. But he'll be looking to try and cement that job for himself, and he'll want to go and turn Rangers over. Yeah,
it was one of the most painful days I've ever witnessed, and my heart went out to him that day, Ruffy, when a number of fans were booing him for a mistake, and I think Kenny Miller summed it up brilliantly. He's put himself right in the firing line on many an occasion for Rangers.
Yeah, I would have said he's a one-man team. He was at that particular time. He was the guy who was prepared to play in all positions, whenever needed, and and that's why he was getting booed. He was playing in positions just because they were short in there, but he was putting himself in there. And it was a shock that day. I think everybody in the crowd, just couldn't understand, the frustration and the supporters for a guy who'd done so much for the club. Yeah,
well, he'll have set his stall out. I don't think Kilmarnock will be parking the bus because, they must be looking at it and say, well, wait a minute, we're the Premiership side here.
Well, they just have to look at the St Johnstone game earlier in the season, and maybe take the game to Rangers. They've got nothing to lose anyway, but they've got some good offensive options. McGuinness, Odejaye, Boydie. You've got Higginbottom and the young boy Kelty. So they've got good options going forward, middle to front. So they've got plenty of options.
Yeah. Of the fixtures that we've looked at, is there one that's screaming out at you, Ruffy, that you think could be a shock? I know we've picked a treble. I mean, I've picked a treble, and so have you. Are there any others there that are screaming out at you?
Well, I think if you're looking at it, you're looking at the big teams, Dundee. I think that would be the biggest shock if Dumbarton were to turn them over. I can't see it myself. I think Dundee are on the rise again. I think they've got, as Alec was saying there, they've got enough options up front, to cause them problems. So I think the other two games, the Motherwell-Inverness game, Dundee United, Partick Thistle, are hard to shout.
Yeah. If you were picking a treble, Alec.
I'm struggling to see that, Peter. So get something in my arms. He's holding that over there for me.
Well, I would wish I was a winger in his team. If he's away on the other side, how's he playing?
No, I'll go for Rangers.
Yep.
I will go for Ross County.
Yep.
And I will go for
Dundee United, Partick.
Morton.
Morton, there you are. Three of the ones that I think were probably the least contentious of them all, Ruffy. Is that fair?
I'll just tell you something. I'm actually looking at teams now thinking who I can get a loan player of. So there's a wee bit of method behind the madness, Ruffy.
You see how you can become compromised, Ruffy, when you've got to think long term. And by the way, how likely is it, just for St Mirren fans, of getting somebody and now the window's closed? Is there a possibility?
We have finances for maybe one under 21 because of the rules. We've already got a quota for the older guys, so maybe scope for one more. We've been to plenty of development games.
So he's either at Morton.
Well, it won't be more. It won't be more.
I was just about to say, Ruffy, you obviously forget the rivalry that goes on between those two teams. Okay, a couple other things I want to talk about before we finish, and let's not forget that we've got the fixtures from the other matches that are taking place. One of them is Scottish League One. Let's have a look at the fixtures that you've got there to look forward to. I think the pick of them there, Ayr against Peterhead, is going to be a cracker. And in League Two, here's the fixtures that you can look forward to for tomorrow. Queen's Park against Elgin could be another tasty one as well. And if you want to find out how it's all going to pan out, then do indeed enjoy us. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Ruffy will be alongside me. We'll be bringing you opinion, chat, wee bit of banter here and there, and if there's a goal that hits the back of the net, especially St Mirren, Queen of the South, then we'll bring it to you here on the programme. Thanks to Alex Rae. If you have any under 21 loan players that you might want to contact him on, we'll pass on the message. Thanks to Alex. Good luck tomorrow, and from Ruffy and myself, join us on Saturday 2 o'clock on STV Edinburgh and Glasgow.